It's time for victory. We making history. We the new big thing, ain't no mystery. Believe me when I say the big game's on. Better tune in, that new thing about to take off. Ready to face off, look me in the eyes. I'm so game ready that I'm all up in your mind. Ready for the battle, we preparing for the war. Give them just a taste, I swear they want more. Hot sun, bright light, no time to waste. Tonight's the night. Fast pace, highlight, leave it all on the line. Just the way that you like. Suit it up, and we ready for war. They don't let us in, we kick down the door. See the look in our eyes, only thing on our minds is win, win, win for the love of football. Win, win, win for the love of
Hey everybody, welcome to the bottom line. And as they like to say, and then there were four. So we're down at an exciting weekend of football. We're down to the final four. So why don't I bring my producer in here, A-Train. Maybe we'll talk about some of these games for a little while. How you doing, A-Train?
Good. Your co-host, your esteemed co-host, is here. If he would like to come in, I know he was handling some business before he was getting on. So if you
Brett the
want,
Hitman.
he's here.
All right,
He's here.
let's welcome
He's
Brett the
here.
Hitman to the show.
he he got his favorite thing in his hand. He's getting it in real
He's
quick.
got he's walking into the studios with the
And
briefcase in his hand.
hey, he got it, man. Oh, he ain't ready yet. He's not ready yet. He wasn't ready. Thumbs up for me, sir, when you're ready, okay? Are you ready now?
Walking in with
Okay.
the briefcase. Walking
Oh,
in with the briefcase.
of course, he's here, man. There he is.
What's
There
up,
he is.
fellas?
All right. All right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's here, man.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Wearing that outdated stuff.
Hey,
All right.
we're defending champions from 2022, 2023. Check out my Orlando Rage jersey I popped on tonight, man.
I like it. I do like it,
Going a
man.
little old school.
You did. You did. I like that jersey, man. Hey, there's nothing wrong with the Orlando Rage, man. They was, a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, they were a playoff team during that 2001 XFL season, right? When they played against San Francisco. Am I correct?
I got me a Hitman jersey too.
Oh, look at
Well,
you.
that's fitting. That's fitting.
I was just fixing to say it's kind of fitting, but
I gotta say, guys, it's probably fitting that it's just the three of us starting this show off because it's probably only the three of us that are worthy of picking games anymore. Because
Oh, I did bad. I did
after
bad
the after the weekend round or the wild card weekend and the divisional round, the three of us guys here, we're all tied for the lead.
that's what I get for picking Green Bay. That's all I'm gonna say. I feel like they had them, but then they didn't have them.
They had them until they didn't have them.
That's right.
But I don't know. It kind of comes across to me that the 49ers look like the walking wounded right now. I think
Especially
they are limping to the finish line.
Lions don't though, and that's the crazy
No, I
thing.
would say Lions are going to come in full speed, full force, no injury problems. I mean, you literally see a repair shop on the sideline that's working on Christian McCaffrey literally between every carry, every drive, trying to get that leg to work. And man, I don't know. They just, and without Debo, I'm starting to question Debo's durability a little bit. Debo's a fantastic receiver. Fantastic receiver. Worth every dime that they're paying him. But, man, when they need him the most the last couple of years, he just isn't answering the gun.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you got to look at it at this rate. Um, close game against Green Bay. Jordan Love, I still trying to figure out what the hell he was thinking in that last drive. But from a 49er standpoint, Brock did what he was supposed to do. Christian McCaffrey did what he needed to do. Of course, getting across the goal line and scoring the touchdown. And then I think they had to convert for 2 to, to tie the game up. And of course, they wind up winning the game eventually. But I'm still mad at Jordan Love, believe it or not, because there was 2 ill-advised passes that he didn't need to take. And a lot of people were questioning Matt LaFleur why he didn't take timeouts in that last minute. You don't. You let things happen because that means you still get the ball, and that way you can still drive. You have a minute left, and you have 3 timeouts to play with. I don't see how that was a problem. It's just that he just made an ill-advised pass that just didn't work in his favor.
A lot of pressure to try to come back there at the end. He just forced it.
Right, that he didn't need to. That was the biggest thing. He did not need to force that pass. You still have second down, and you can, still get 10 yards. But I could really believe, without a shadow of a doubt, when he threw that pass, he knew he messed up the minute he threw it.
Yeah.
Well, for a number 7 seed, Green Bay had to walk away from that feeling pretty good, though, because for a lot of that game, they had the 49ers on the ropes, man. I mean,
they did.
And I don't know. I'm starting to think that I don't want to be a number 1 seed because that bye week and, because it never fails. If they can, they rest their players that last week of the regular season. Then they get a bye week. And then they come back that first startup. It seems like it takes them a half to get cranked up.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, Baltimore was the same way in their game. It was just like,
it's very common. Very common.
Right, getting back in order and stuff like that. Like you mentioned about the Texans, they were tied at 10 when it got, to halftime and stuff. But then it's like as soon as the second half came about, they started cranking it up. And what's even really more interesting about that Texans-Ravens game was the fact that Texans never scored an offensive touchdown at all. The only touchdown they got was off of special teams.
Yeah, and a good thing Eric's not on right now being the stat guy, because if you look at the stats for the Texans, there's nothing there to play with. I mean, it probably went about as what I expected, I guess. C.J. Stroud, he's got a hell of a career ahead of him, but the playoffs is just a whole different animal compared to the regular season. And I think he got a little taste of, that there's bright days ahead for Houston. That's just a little bit too early yet. They got some work to do yet on their roster, I think.
No question. And seeing this comment here, Jordan thought he was Mahomes at the end of the game. You have to find out. Yeah, of course he's not Patty Mahomes, but at the same time, it was like it still shouldn't have been. That still should have been on his mind to make that type of throw. Case in point, I'm glad he brought up Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Bills, because it was the game of the night, game of the weekend, as a matter of fact, and they gave literally everything that we expected in a ball game. It's just that we had wide right 2.0, right? But I still don't. I have to blame Josh Allen with a lot of them, along with his receivers. Stephon Diggs couldn't make catches when he needed to, right? And then Josh Allen, the decision making was poor. There was a play that was on second. They were driving, and it wound up leading to the missed field goal. But I'm like, you had Stephon Diggs on the left side, and I'm guessing now, as we're talking about it, he didn't trust in Stephon Diggs at that moment, so he said, "Hey, I'm going to go down towards the end zone and see if I can make a play there." And I remember getting into a conversation with somebody about Patrick Mahomes not needing a lot of time to play to drive. He don't.
Right.
He doesn't. No.
You give him 30 seconds and he can get down the field pretty darn quick.
Still got to mention Andy Reid, man. I've said for years and years I feel like he's the best play caller, in the NFL. And I think the key play last night was I can't remember the wide receiver, but it was a deep slant. I want to say on second down, and Kansas City was up 3, and they lined up Chris Jones. The Chiefs did on the left tackle, and the guy broke open in the end zone, and right as he let go of the ball, the left tackle got bull rushed by Chris Jones into him and bumped him, and the ball landed 3 or 4 yards in front of that receiver. If he had a clean pocket there, I think it's an easy touchdown, and we might have had a different outcome in that game. That was a game-changing pass rush there by Jones. Their best pass rusher, of course.
But the problem. Go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
No, I thought they were trading punches, and I thought it was a game that was probably being played pretty much to the best by both sides. But, I made a couple posts on Facebook during the game when Buffalo ran that fake punt. To me, that was almost a sign of desperation. I mean, it was like at the first turn that they thought, uh-oh, we're losing control of this game. They totally lost their mind and they ran that fake punt. I mean, it was on their own 30. The flow of the game was still, and thank God that Andy Reid pulled a Pete Carroll, the Super Bowl when they got the ball down to the 1 yard line against the Patriots. And everybody and their uncle was saying Marshawn Lynch, baby, right up the middle for a touchdown. What does he do? They're on the 3 yard line, and I'd be willing to bet anybody here that didn't say give it to Pachenko every run, and he's going to score a touchdown. But what do they give it to a guy that hadn't even had his hands on the ball yet the whole game, and they end up fumbling the ball out of the end zone there when they could have went up by 2 scores and basically put the game away. And I thought, Andy, come on, dude, you're too good for that. To do some gimmick play where they put the ball in the hands of a guy that, number one's not going to have ball security down there on the goal line. But I just thought that was, I said Buffalo blinked, running that fake punt. And then Kansas City gets the ball and gets a chance to go up by 2 scores, and Andy pulled a Pete Carroll. And it's like, guys, you guys were both playing this game close to the best, and now back-to-back bonehead moves. I just didn't get it.
I didn't either.
Pressure was getting to him. Pressure was definitely getting to him. And, I just don't know if anybody can beat Baltimore right now. I mean, we're sitting here talking about everybody but Baltimore.
Right. And
go ahead. No, go ahead, Adrian.
But when I had when I did the Pro Football Alliance conversation with Kelsey Nicole Nelson, she gave in some insight on the Ravens. One of the main things that we touched on with the Ravens was that this was probably the best offense that this Ravens team has had, even with a quarterback with the style as Lamar Jackson, that they have receivers, that they have a great offensive line. They also have a great running back play. However, in that first half, they were looking very shaky. But when everything boiled down to it, it was easy for Lamar Jackson to get to spaces that he needed to get to, and then make the right throws where they were getting touchdowns and stuff. And now Mark Andrews is coming back for Baltimore, so that leaves now 2 tight end weapons for Lamar Jackson. I haven't seen that type of offense for Baltimore in a long time. Not even with the days of Trent Dilfer as quarterback, not even the days of Joe Flacco as quarterback. He's had a running back, a tight end, and a receiver. He has 2 of each.
And let's face it. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs now. This year, I think everybody would agree that their offense has not been even close to what it once was. But so last night against Buffalo, I'll give it to Kansas City. They look good on offense, but look at the injuries that Buffalo had in their secondary, in their linebacker. I mean, Buffalo wasn't playing with a full stack by any means. Okay, so Kansas City looked the best they've looked in weeks as a result. Now they're going to Baltimore. That defense that they're going to go up against now isn't even going to be close to what they saw last night. I mean, Baltimore is going to be loaded for bear defensively. And I don't know. I think the last night's game might have been a little fool's gold on anybody that thinks Kansas City's offense is back.
Right.
I mean, if you're looking at it now, it's going to be interesting to see because it's going into another hostile environment. This time, a little bit more darker than it is compared to playing in Buffalo. Baltimore is pretty loud there, and then they love playing at home. And if Lamar Jackson wants to get over the hump, he's going to have to play similar to what Josh Allen was trying to do against the Chiefs and play near perfect. But I think he can because he also got to use his legs. And somebody had mentioned it about spying Jackson. That's going to be the key here. Who's going to keep an eye on Lamar Jackson when he's out there? And I'm cool. That's fine. The whole road career thing, but this is 1-0 for him in the playoffs. And that's cool. But now you're going against the top team in the AFC, and they can fire all cylinders here with this group, and I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I should expect a lot of high scoring in this one.
And Kansas City don't get the respect that they deserve on the defensive side of the ball. I have, I'm a big D guy, and I can't even think of the man's name right now. It's been a long day at work. But the defensive coordinator for Kansas City, he is a fantastic coordinator. In my opinion, he might be, the best defensive coordinator. And me being a Chicago Bears fan in the situation we're in now, I'd hire him immediately to run our team and handle our defense, similar to what Houston did with DeMeco Ryans. I mean, that guy, he's a hell of a defensive mind with Kansas City.
Which is facts, but the problem with that is Steve Spagnuolo had his opportunity being a head coach when he was with the Rams in St. Louis. Granted, the team that was given to him wasn't the best, and the defense that he was able to utilize was fine. It's just that they had problems on offense, didn't have the right offensive coordinator. And yes, that's a fact. He is a defensive whiz, and it's just that he's better as a coordinator than he is as a head coach. And so he's able to utilize all these different defensive schemes all the time. And, when he's with the Giants, you did him. And, surprisingly, Andy Reid was able to pluck him from the Giants and the Rams and getting him on his staff. That was just pretty prolific all by itself.
Let's turn back to the KC Buffalo game for a minute, though. If you look at, and I've kept a pretty close eye on Stephon Diggs this year because, well, let's face it, he's been on my fantasy football team this year. So I got to see what he was doing every week, week in and week out. That guy fell off the face of the earth about midway through the season. He all of a sudden was no longer Josh Allen's go-to guy. And I think it was safe to say the last 3-4 games of the regular season in the playoffs, Stephon Diggs was an afterthought as far as the progression went for Josh Allen, because it was all about Shakir and Gabe Davis and all those guys. All of a sudden they were getting all the traffic, and Diggs is coming in there at 3 catches for 20 yards or whatever. You're talking a guy that's making $25 million a year. Having 3 catches for 20 yards, that's just unacceptable. So now
that long pass by Josh Allen last night was right in his hands. It was right in his hands, and
that was a huge drop.
He looked foolish going up for that ball too.
So now you look at Josh Allen's contract kicks in next year. He's going to be making $47 million next year. So now their roster isn't going to look the same. There's just no way it's going to look the same. So what adjustments are going to have to be made to the roster? Well, number one, I think Stephon Diggs is gone.
Yeah.
I think he's gone. So, to save some cap room. But now you're talking about the window of opportunity. I always talk about the window of opportunity. Buffalo has had a window of opportunity for the last 3 or 4 years. They haven't been able to get past Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And now I think Buffalo is going to take a step. I don't know that they can make us. We'll see what happens with their roster. But I honestly don't think they're going to be any better next year. They're at that point now where they're going to have to fight to keep consistent with their roster. So I don't know.
They definitely seem to be losing a step on the defensive side of the ball. Although, they had numerous injuries this year. It's not the same Buffalo defense from 2 years ago, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're not at all. So, as we talk, we haven't really, I don't know, A-Train must have had, that's a good question, Brock. I wondered where he went to, but that's all right.
I'm here. I just
there he is.
handle some business, so I'm gonna let you guys do the talking. So please carry on. You got the conversation in hand.
No,
sir.
was there anything you had to say about Buffalo? I don't know if you heard what I said, but I think
I heard
think
everything.
the window is starting to possibly, how they start to slide that baby closed a little bit.
I need to know how we can sit here and not blame Josh Allen for this loss. Not entirely, but I'm like, you got to place some of the blame on him. Like I was watching, I usually don't, but I was watching online and watching Get Up and First Take and all that. And Ryan Clark him and Dan Orlovsky were both going back and forth about why you can't place the blame on Josh Allen. Like, are you serious? Like, you are the leader of this group. You're going to sit here and tell me right now that Josh Allen don't get no blame for what happened in that loss against the Chiefs? You're the decision maker, and I get it. Your receivers, a couple of them let you down, especially Stephon Diggs. He did, but also the decision making that you were making at that moment just seemed so foul. And he could have ran the ball the entire game because the Chiefs weren't stopping it.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were not stopping the run. They had 183 yards rushing in that game. That means Chris Jones and those guys were not stopping you. They had, what was that, Jackson? And Jones was trying to grab him, and he's dragging him. You kidding me? You could have kept running the ball. Josh Allen is 240 freaking pounds. You telling me you can't get through these dudes? It would have been easy. Y'all were getting 8-yard plays on first down. You were getting +5 over. You're getting 5, 6, 7, 8 yards on first down. That means you were moving the ball. And time-wise, if you really look at it, when they were down 3, right? Let's say they hit the field goal, right? You gave way too much time for Patrick Mahomes to get the ball. Because you know what he can do in a small amount of time. You give him a touchback, 75 yards, just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. this morning, and I think they kind of helped me put my finger on it a little bit. They talk about, you got your quarterbacks, the Kirk Cousins and those guys that they're big stat guys, right? And every year the stats always look good, and everybody considers them a top 5 quarterback. But then you dial the games down to moments. There's moments in a game where the elite quarterbacks show why they're elite quarterbacks, and the rest of them show why they just can't rise to the occasion. And there's going to be 2 or 3 plays a game that answer that question. And obviously, Patrick Mahomes rises to the occasion and makes the plays in the moments that mean the most, when the plays need to be made. And Josh Allen, you can look at his record. He can do great against the Chiefs in the regular season, but when it's playoff time and you have those moments and you got to deliver, he's 0-3. I mean, and that's and NFL games are just like any other professional games. They're all professional athletes. It all comes down to a handful of plays that are either made or they're not made. The elite athletes are able to make those plays, and that's why they're considered the best of the best. And there's just some of those that just continue to come up small when the light is the brightest. And I'm sorry, I hate to say, I mean, Josh Allen is a good quarterback, but he's just not elite status because he's not rising to the moment. He's just not meeting the moment when it presents itself.
And who are some of those guys that you think of, like from the top of your head? I mean, instantly I think of Joe Montana. I think of Tom Brady. I think of Patrick Mahomes. And you look at a lot of the quarterbacks that they, always competed against in their prime and ended up beating. And like you said, it was, they did the extra. Each squad had a couple drives there at the end to make those throws, make those plays, make the right read. And there's always one guy that does, and there's always one guy that falls short. So, like you said, Josh Allen, I would definitely have him quarterback in my team, but when the lights are the brightest, he does kind of, dim out a little bit.
And it's happening rapidly. You know what I mean? Like each season, we're expecting him to do great things and to get to, this was the time where the AFC, you have to get through Mahomes right now. Mahomes is on a level similar to LeBron James in the NBA, and I say that for this reason: you got six straight years you'd have made it to the conference championship. LeBron had made the conference finals at least 10 years in a row, right? So you're going on the same level, same route, where if you can't stop me, then guess what? It's not going to matter. Just lost Brett. But my thing is, right, and this is great. Josh Allen is falling into the Dan Marino plot. I was just about ready to say that. Brock had literally took the words out of my mouth. Like he's headed down that route. And Lamar Jackson is going to be that if he's not careful.
But
Dan Marino had go ahead.
But Patrick Mahomes is smart. I mean, sure, everybody looks at Josh Allen and they say, "Oh boy, look at how he can run. Look at how he can run." Patrick Mahomes can run too. He just chooses not to until the time is right. How many scrambles did Mahomes have last night that you could consider memorable? The only time that he runs, every time that he runs, it ends up being an impact play. When he juked that guy and went up the sideline,
my God, that was it. That was
even he was surprised because he's running that sideline, and you could just tell he wanted to step out of bounds, and then he was like, "Oh God, I can get another 5. Oh, I better step. Nope. I can get another 5." It's like he's just straddling that line all the way down because he doesn't want to take a hit. Because last year he played the whole playoffs, hardly being able to walk because he had the high ankle sprain. So I mean, he's smart.
Right, and I think it was literally one of the best plays I had ever seen. Him make in the playoffs. It was the pump fake that he gave. I mean, literally took my man off his feet because he thought he was going to pass it. And remember, he was at the line of scrimmage, so he could have tossed it like he would usually do. But he gave a pump fake. My man jumped in the air, and it was a wrap. And he was able to get the first down off of that. It was sick. And sideline tosses, like it's hard. You have to almost get into the mind of Patrick Mahomes to beat him because that's the only way you can. But even when you get into his mind, he will switch it up. He'll switch it up on you very quickly. So you have no idea, and we haven't seen a quarterback like this, I don't think ever. I'm trying to think if there's a quarterback that has done these types of things in a game, and I haven't. Brady hasn't done it. Montana hasn't done it because they've been straight downward quarterbacks. Like, I'm just gonna throw the ball, or if I need to take off, cool. Brett said he'll be back. He's gonna do some things, share the show. Fine. Um, but we have never seen a guy like that. And when I say Chiefs fans are to be superiorly grateful, as much as I want to sit here and say I'm not the biggest Mahomes fan, but watching it on TV, goodness gracious, it's like, get him. It was like with Kobe Bryant to me when he watched the NBA. Like, somebody stop this dude because he's out of control and he's making plays when he needs to.
Well, nobody wanted Kansas City to win last night more than I did because I was the whole show, the
Not
whole
even
game,
big, sir. Not even big.
the whole game. I wanted them to win, but it's like there are franchises, and I say it because I support the Vikings, and I don't know why, but I do, and it's Buffalo falls in the exact same arena as Minnesota does. At the time when the game means the most and you have to make a play, when that field goal kicker come out and he lined up for that last field goal, I looked at Mama Bear and I said, you know what's going to happen. He's missing this field goal. He ain't making this field goal. And he kicked that ball, and you could tell from the second he kicked it, it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't even close. And I'm sitting there, and so when the ball flies off and he misses it, and they show the guy in the crowd, and he's bawling his eyes out and everything, I had the flashback of the 98 playoffs NFC Championship game, Minnesota Vikings 15-1 against the Atlanta Falcons.
I don't need this.
And I was the last guy out of the stadium when the guy was sweeping the stands. I lifted my leg so he could get the nacho wrapper and everything out. And then we ran into a damn blizzard driving back to Iowa after the game. It was the day from hell. And I tell you what, I did. I almost got sick last night. I was almost sick last night because when they're showing the guys in the crowd and that one guy's bawling his eyes out, I'm like,
you felt the pain.
Dude, I can so feel your pain right now. I can so feel your pain.
I hate when you tell this story. I love it, but I hate it too. I'm gonna lose it because
oh my God! It was like the minute he lined up, I'm like, oh my God! And then it ended up being a Norwood 2.0. I mean, the Vikings were in the playoffs one year too against Seattle, and that was when their new stadium was being built. So they were playing in the old Minnesota Gopher College Stadium.
I remember that. Seattle
and Minnesota went down the field, and they had a chip shot field goal at the very end to win that game. And our field goal kicker couldn't have missed that thing anymore unless he kicked it backwards. If he'd have kicked it backwards, that would have been the only way that ball missed any more than what it did. And it just made me, I just sat there after the game, as happy as I was. I was happy to see Kansas City win. I was. But at the same time, I just sat there and I was just thinking, God, what is it? It's not just Minnesota, but what it would be like, what it's like to back a franchise that it just seems like at the biggest moments they come up so small.
Well, being a Chicago Bears fan right now, I would take it. I mean,
man.
Hey, every mid-late October, I'm already thinking about the draft.
Listen, I think Bears fans have a lot to look forward to coming up in this draft. I don't think you just can't muck it up. Like you literally you have to look at it from the Houston standpoint, and I have to use this as an example because you look at what they did, man, with that draft. They were able to get the top two out of three picks, right? You got C.J. Stroud, and then you went in and got Brett stepped away for a second. I don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
See, if I stand up, stand up enough, I'm in the helmet and I'm holding the ball at the same time. That does look pretty good, doesn't it? That brings back my playing days.
Exactly, man. But hey, look, exactly. Was it intentional to make it look like he was holding the football, the player, and the background screen? No, he's like talking about you, sir. But no, what I was trying to say was, it was. Hell, I forgot now. Down. Do me off with that. Oh shoot, it'll come back to me. But Javier says, I thought for a minute, for what I've been watching Baltimore, CJ Starks and the Texans, I thought they done well against the Browns, but I guess Ravens defense was too strong over Stroud, and that's why they got so many penalties for the reason. What you think about that, A-Train? I think at this rate, the Ravens was. I mean, the Texans just wasn't offensively ready for a team like the Ravens. Because they couldn't get any plays downfield. Of course, running the ball, like he was going to literally have to put the whole game on the shoulders of C.J. Stroud, and that's what the hard thing about when you have a one-sided offense. That's tough. So it was no chance. No chance. Oh, I got you, dude. I got you. There was no chance for them guys to get it together, and they weren't gonna beat Baltimore, man. It's too much. It's too much right now. But
Can I share what I heard today?
Yes, I saw that. Go ahead, man.
All right.
I think you got something to share.
Yes, I was told today by a little birdie that the UFL schedule is set to be released by the end of the month. They said worst case scenario, the absolute worst case scenario would be February 1st, but they are looking at finally getting the complete schedule out for the upcoming season by the end of the month. So that's the news. So it's almost here within about a week, within the next week.
That's awesome.
Well, it sounds like you were talking about maybe possibly some of the reasons why it's taken so long for the schedule to come out, and hopefully, if they're doing their due diligence, that I guess I'm all for it, because the last thing I want to do is have games again where St. Louis has got a soccer game going at the same time the Battlehawks are playing, or the Cardinals are playing at the same time the Battlehawks are playing. So if they get it all coordinated to where they're not stepping on each other's toes between soccer and baseball and football, I'm all for it.
Well, again, the person I spoke to today said that, if it is released, like they said, the end of January, which will be this week or next week, with the delayed start of March 30th compared to where, the XFL typically starts, we're actually a couple weeks ahead of schedule from last year. I know that's not saying a lot, but from what I gather, DC and Arlington, they house professional soccer teams, and their schedules are not released and don't come out till mid-December every year. So that is, from what I'm told, one of the main reasons for the actual delay. So they've had a month now to get it ironed out. So I really do anticipate, and they said they understand there's a lot of people waiting on the schedule to be released before they buy their tickets. Very understandable. So they are trying to get that out by the end of the month. which is fantastic news because I heard something last night that was sometime, mid late February, and I just cringed. But I don't think that's going to be the case.
That's why they got the late time for March 30th. They got to make sure everything, all their ducks in a row. Plus, of course, they got the broadcast schedule that has got to come out too. So, and this was another thing was the MLS schedules. So those are out currently right now.
Right, right. They didn't come out to mid December, from what I'm told.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very tough task, Mike, with 8 different venues in a brand new league. I mean, it's not like it's the NFL where it's been around however many years. So, and I think they didn't decide on the 8 venues until obviously, I mean, my goodness, the merger wasn't final to what, November?
Right.
So obviously they're limited on time to get that done. So, I mean, we're all very impatient. I'm probably the most impatient spring football fan out there, and I own that. So, but from the news I got today and from the conversation I had today, it made me feel a lot better on where we're at. And you guys know how excited and how pumped I am about. We don't even need to talk about the UFL because you guys will kick me off the show because I won't shut up. So we'll go on. We'll go on to something else.
We talking about it now, man. Like, listen, there's nothing wrong with talking about the UFL, man, especially at this rate. But it's like we not getting a lot of news within it, and of course we got shows that participate with that kind of stuff, and there are fans that just sitting around, and want to see a great game. That's basically what it is. We all
Yeah.
want to see something special out of this league. You decided that they decided they wanted to merge together, right? So now we pitting XFL versus USFL. We kind of wanted to see what that was going to look like. And now we're going to get that opportunity to see which of the 2 leagues is actually the better of the 2. And currently right now, it still seems like the Birmingham Stallions and Arlington Renegades are the 2 top teams, that we have to look forward to seeing because they were champions this past year. And they're
It's
locking
going
and
to be a
loading
lot of
up, man.
fun. For you guys that are watching the show, you guys and girls, and you're not as into it as we are, you really need to check out some of these rosters from these teams because I'm going to tell you what, and I've said it once, I'll say it 10 million times between now and kickoff. The quality of play is going to be fantastic. The quality of play is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be better than what the USFL was by itself, and I think it's going to be better than what it was last year with both teams playing. There's a lot of talent out there, and we've got all that talent squeezed down to 8 rosters. So it's going to be top shelf football with a lot of guys that are probably going to get another chance in the NFL and a lot of guys that's already been in the NFL. So it's going to be well worth watching, even if it's not your team playing.
Ed, I know you got something to say because I really don't.
I'm to the point where I'm just ready to get the wheels turning here. I got, we've went through the free agent signings now, and so now it's kind of time for training camp to open up. And once training camp opens up, then it's fast forward. I mean, it's fast forward from there. I don't know. It's just, God, we've been just waiting and waiting since August, September. And it just seems like every week it's going to be next week. And then next week it's going to be the next week. And I'm almost to the point now where until the schedule comes out, there really isn't much to talk about with the UFL right now.
I mean, I look at it like this. We getting more of the rosters. Free agency is high right now, and we're seeing names from last season come back to these certain teams, no matter if it was an XFL side or USFL side. And then, like with the dispersal draft and stuff, from the past week, one of the big names that came off the board to me was Quentin Dormady. And I know we haven't really talked about that, but Quentin Dormady, as the season progressed, like the second half of the season, he was probably one of the better quarterbacks in the XFL. And granted, the record did not speak for what he did. It was the fact that he was able to make throws, and he's going to have weapons. He's going to have weapons. You got Elise Mack and Cody Latimer. If they both make the team, man, you got two tight ends that could create a lot of problems on offense for that Brahmas team.
Well, and for the Orlando Guardians last year, Quentin he ran for his life. That was probably the worst offensive line in the XFL. He had very limited protection last year. So just imagine if they could actually give the kid a clean pocket, he's liable to go off this upcoming season.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Jack Cohn, man, because he was having a hard time throughout the year. Granted, the record was higher than what Dormady was doing, but the play was way better to me than from Dormady than it was from Jack Cohn. And
Yeah,
so
Orlando improved.
and then having a guy like AJ Smith on staff, it's gonna be really crazy to see how that Brahmas team looks on paper. When they finalize that roster and those 42 is out there, set and dressed, you know, um, it just seems like right now the Brahmas, and of course I know the Renegades are the champs, but the Battlehawks with their receiver room, those are gonna be tough. Because if you just look at it, Butler, Aitman, Jackson, and Jacour Pearson. Just those four. And I didn't even mention Daniel Shepard.
And you haven't talked,
Derek
and Jennings. Jennings come in, made some big plays.
Jennings is over with Brett Screw with the Birmingham Stallions now. Remember, because that's how Coach Beck.
No, I thought I saw that he was signed with us now.
Gary Jennings signed with the Birmingham Stallions.
Okay.
Because what's the name was pissed about it. Like Coach Beck was hot. So, oh yeah, I'm just plucking guys off my roster. Yeah. Oh, and yes, I forgot.
And I love the fact he commented about it.
Jeff Thomas from East St. Louis, he's on the roster now. So when he signed his letter of intent, I mean it's a lot right now, and I think that Anthony Beck has a good problem on his hands. I know Skip Holtz is going to have that same problem, but now that Alex Magoo won't be returning because he signed a future contract with the Packers, I know a lot of Birmingham fans are not too thrilled about it, but happy for him that he's making it to his next step. Now you got it in the hands of Jamar Smith, who was a USFL champion.
Yeah.
Let's keep that in perspective here. Andrew got a question saying, if this is a successful season, do you guys think we'll actually have a normal off season? Only thing I see is expansion, even though I think it will happen to 2025. Well, let's let the UFL season happen, because again, we're starting over, right? And so because we're starting over, we got to let things play out first before we can see if we have a normal off season. I think we won't get that to 2026, in my opinion.
Yeah, my honest opinion is we're gonna have a fantastic season, but I do think there will be some talk in the off season and some scuttlebutt, and we'll hear some rumors, and the league will be reaching out to potential owners, and they will be still working on potential venues. I know for a fact they're working on one in New Orleans, which would bring the Breakers back as we speak. So I do think, and they've even mentioned a couple months ago, they're already talking and thinking about expansion. But I still, if you held a gun to my head and said, what's your thoughts? I would say 2024 and 2025 is probably going to be the same 8 teams. And like you said, I think it'll be 2026 before they pull the trigger on either 2 or 4 more teams. That would be my honest prediction. But I'm going to tell you what, just from, the group that I started and helped run and the request we get daily, the activity, there's a lot of excitement there, and anticipation, and with the networks that these games are going to be on, the quality of play, I am overly pumped. I know Ed's frustrated. We've all been frustrated. And nobody's been publicly more frustrated with the league or both these leagues compared to me. I mean, I'll let XFL 3.0 have it. I'll let them have it. And I got phone calls from XFL 2.0 begging me to stop, and I said I will not.
Well,
And
all
I
I
kept
know,
on.
I think for 2024, the only goal the league has to have is to actually make the Stallions make roster cuts. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that I think that they need to require, because I think Birmingham's like at 140 on their roster now.
You know what's so funny about
if
that?
we sign one, they sign three. If DC signs two, they sign four. I mean, the Stallions got to have 140 guys on their roster right now. They got to, have to.
We roll deep, baby. We roll deep in the dirty
Hey,
South.
I don't think the Stallions should have had to give up anybody, but those that were able to make the NFL, like Brandon Aubrey and Alex Magoo, and there are others. But since they did,
Khalil Evans.
yeah, Khalil Evans is another. Like, they pretty much have their roster now. All they have to do now is just kind of insert a few people in, and everybody else that wasn't on the squad. You can't get on this squad this time, because you're playing against a champ. I know you want to get better, right? And you want to remain the champs. You want to solidify that you are the best in the UFL. So, yes, of course, I see it, Brett. I see USFL champs. And guess what? You guys are the last USFL champ. Well, actually, no. Because here's the thing. Now that we have this league in 8 teams, right? I think if they remain, you got to add more USFL teams and more XFL teams to the mix.
Yeah.
I just think that's just the coolest thing to it, because the level of competition will rise throughout not just the year, but as the UFL grows as a league, everybody's going to want to know who's the better group, XFL or USFL.
Yeah.
And it's like what we have with the NFL, with the NFC and the AFC. You got to see who's the best of the group, right? And then you got an XFL trophy for them and a USFL trophy, and say, hey, we still the champs. But then you got to play for the ultimate prize, the UFL title. So,
And every off season coming up, everybody's going to wonder, what potential franchises can come back.
Exactly. So the level of interest actually rises. You know what I mean?
Every off season, it's going to be nothing but, are they going to let any teams back? Is any teams coming back? And then you're going to have the conspiracy theorists on the online saying there's 4 teams coming back. And I mean,
hey, I think no, I was gonna say something. I was like, no. So it's like, when they have the XFL championship game, right? Because they're gonna have a conference championship, right? Got to find out who's going to be the XFL champion. You got to find out who's going to be the USFL champion. You know how in the NFC you have the George Halas Trophy, right? And then in the AFC you have the Lamar Hunt Trophy. Right. If you could give a name to one of these leagues, what would you name it? I would say for the USFL, I'd name it after David Dixon, the David Dixon Trophy. He was the man that started the USFL, right? Now you can sit there and it's like, well, what would you do with the XFL?
McMahon.
I would not want to give it to him, though. As much as I would like to, I don't want to. I need another name. Dick Ebersol. Throw him out there. I can't deal with the Vince McMahon.
Boy, that would step on Vince's toes.
Yeah, it would. But, he has a stain on him right now. You know what I mean? And so because of that, I don't think it would be the He Hate Me trophy. I like it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's
on my backdrop back there.
See, man, and I understand. Screw him too, but I'm like, come on, man. I get it, but Vince McMahon has a stain on the XFL, so it's like I need a different name for it. But the He Hate Me trophy, I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I would be cool with that. The Rod Smart trophy. Maybe name the MVP after that.
Right, right.
Maybe.
One thing we didn't cover when we was talking NFL. Let's imagine for a minute we got a player, Baker Mayfield, that after week 11 the Buccaneers were 4-7.
Right.
And this guy had bet on himself. Coach Beck always talks about the guys on the practice squad in the NFL need to get off the practice squad and bet on themselves and come to a league like this and showcase their talents and bet on themselves a little bit. How much money do you think Baker Mayfield made himself? He played this year, 1-year contract for $4 million. That was his contract for this season. What do you think? They went from 4-7 to what did they finish? 8-9 or something? 9-8.
9-8.
And he got through the first round of the playoffs, beat out Philly. Made a nice showing against the Lions until he threw that pick late. What do you suppose that 1-year, $4 million contract's going to turn into next year? I'll be willing to bet you. I'll bet you he signs for at least
6 times that much, 7 times that much.
Yeah, I'll bet you it's $25 million for about at least 4 years. I'll bet
6 times that.
4 to 6.
Yeah, I was thinking 3 years, 30 million is what I was thinking, but it might be a little more.
Yeah,
you said so. What? Say that again, Brett.
I was thinking 3 years, 30 million is what I was thinking.
That's it.
That's it. He's gonna shoot. Starting
3 years, 45 million. I don't know.
Yeah, I say it's
I think you'll get a 3-year contract though for sure.
75 million won't be bad for Tampa.
No, but it's gonna be. I'm sure he went home fat and happy because he knows the contract is coming. And,
Absolutely.
He bet on himself, man.
Yeah,
he was
Lamar Jackson.
He was almost to the point where he was out of the league, and he decided to play for a 1-year contract at $4 million. And look what it's going to happen.
Yeah, same thing with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson bet on himself, and didn't have any representation. He said, "No, I'm gonna be the one at the table," and got a ridiculous contract at that. And the stellar season that he had motivated, that had to be motivating when he got that contract to say, "Hey, this is what I'm gonna do for the city of Baltimore. I'll put this on my back, and we're gonna go out and we're gonna show to everybody that Baltimore deserves to be here." And right now, he's in the AFC Championship game. He has a chance to get to Vegas, and so that's gonna be and that's another one. He got a good point. Jared Goff, he's gonna want to get a new contract with the Detroit Lions. I think, man, I didn't realize a tight end like Dan Campbell could take this Detroit Lions team to where they are right now.
I'm gonna tell you, I watched the Hard Knocks or whatever last year. Actually, me and my brother did, and I'm gonna tell you, man, just from playing football a little bit back in the day, and my brother played high school ball. Man, he's a motivator. He's the type of guy you want to play for. And I said, you know what? This dude might end up doing something at Detroit. And my brother was higher on him than I was. And I'm like, well, it's Detroit. You got to. But there again, I'm thinking, damn, dude, I mean, I'd play for him. That was what I said. And I'm going to tell you what, you got to give the man all the credit in the world. And I look, we got to do our picks before we get off tonight. I don't think Detroit's going to go into San Francisco and win, but either way, speaking of contracts, Campbell's got some job security now. That's for sure.
So I see in John's comment, and I heard something alluded to it yesterday. I figure you got to know.
Yeah, we dropped it.
What's the big trade? I did not hear.
Birmingham Stallions acquire Bubba Bolden from the Brahmas, who in return got Elijah Holder from Stanford. That is the trade that just dropped.
Well, Potter had posted about it last night, but he didn't say anything. He just said the first one, ever of the new league. So I knew it was a trade. But when did they finally drop the details? This afternoon?
Just an hour ago. It just dropped.
Oh, okay.
Just dropped.
Well, I was kind of thinking, why couldn't Birmingham get 3 or 4 players and just give them one? That would be about right.
And that's been how the game's been going, right?
Yeah, that'd be a fair trade.
Oh God. So we really can't. I don't know. I know Brett made the comment that he thought that we were going to do our picks tonight.
We should.
I
We
don't
got
know.
to.
I'm
Sorry
thinking
that Eric didn't show up.
Yeah, he's kind of out of it
I'm
anyway.
I'm giving him hell tonight. That's right.
Where's Eric at, by the way?
Oh, that family stuff again.
Yeah,
he's got his son's a wrestler, so they had another meet tonight. So
He couldn't have done the show from the meet.
he has to go there and hound the ref. Every time
he's hands on. He's hands
every
on.
every time a call goes against his son, he's that parent that's out in the crowd yelling at the ref. So
I can see that.
Good. Exactly. I understand, man. Thank you.
So I guess if you're gonna require, I figured with the San Francisco's injury status on their players that you guys would want to post our picks later in the week once we find out who's actually playing in the game.
Nah.
I got my pick already. I got my picks, baby.
You got the picks already?
I got my pick. Oh yes. This was
God. Usually I blurt my picks right out, but now you're gonna make me think about it.
Who's going first?
I'll go first. Baltimore versus Detroit, baby. Let's go.
Okay.
Ravens
What do we
and
got?
the Lions in the Super Bowl. I would love to see Goff take that Lions team all the way to Vegas. I'm telling you, everything in Detroit is gonna be ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't want to see no Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. Sorry, little Swifties.
Oh.
Well, I tell you what, old Travis's brother dang near took us. Did you see him when he jumped out of the?
Which
when he jumped out of the suite, he hit that concrete and it had a little bit of ice on it, and he damn near went down. And I'm like, oh man. But here's a guy. What is he? He's probably 6'5", 6'6". He probably weighs 300 or close 280, something like that. He went back over to the suite when it come time to go back in there, and he just put the old hand in there, and he hopped right up on the.
Hopped on in. Hey, you talking about retirement? Retirement.
God, I told Mama Bear. I said, how do you suppose old Big Daddy Ed would have been getting back into that suite?
It's gonna take Ed about 45 minutes to get back.
Yeah, I would have had my arms over the top and my feet would have just been scratching the side trying to get up there.
45 minutes to get back up here, man. The game is over and you still trying to get up here.
Oh, God.
But no, man. Hey, the Lions and Ravens for me, man. I want to see Goff in the Super Bowl and Lamar Jackson. That'd be fun for me. It just would be too cool.
Okay, Brett.
That's the matchup I want. The matchup that I see happening is the two favorites, and like you guys said, typically the two favorites don't make it. There's always an upset and whatever. But for some reason, I just think San Francisco and Baltimore is just so much better than everybody else this year. Which it don't matter because I know San Francisco's banged up. But give me San Francisco by about 10 at home against Detroit, and give me Baltimore by 3 at home against Kansas City. And I don't want to see, but I do think Baltimore's going to win the game. But I'll be pulling for Baltimore as well. But I would love to see a Baltimore-Detroit Super Bowl. Won't hurt my feelings at all. But give me Baltimore and San Fran.
I'm surprised you would even say that because of an NFC North guy. You would see a North team actually get in the Super Bowl.
It's Detroit. I mean,
it's Detroit.
As we say down here in the South, bless their hearts. Let them win something,
Hey,
You know, just
Yeah,
to
walking back.
just to set oh God, that ain't no lie. By the way, last week, just so everybody knows, because we had a guest picker on too, and it's only fitting that we give the results so that we know how the guest picker did too.
He did 4-0 too, didn't he?
No, he did 3-1. He picked.
Okay, he picked
He
the Bills over the
he
Chiefs.
picked the Bills over the Chiefs. So
Okay.
it was 4-0 by this guy. It was 3-1 by the guest picker, and the rest of you were all 2-2. So heading into the finals, Ed, Brett, and A-Train are all 6-4. We're all tied at the top spot. So this is for all the marbles.
What about Eric?
Eric is at 4-6. He's 2 games out. So we'd have to all go 0-2
done.
for him
He's
just
out.
to tie.
He's out at this point.
Although one of our comments was the fact that Eric was doing so bad and didn't know anything about football because he was a Bears fan. And I thought, uh-oh.
You saw that? Where did you see that at? Where did
I
you see
actually
that?
I actually got a text from one of the fans that said that
Okay.
he didn't care about Eric's picks because he was a Bears fan, and Bears don't know anything about football anyway. So,
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow. Really? Somebody asked you to make the pick, sir.
oh, okay, yeah, that's because they're used to me going so quick. I usually don't snap them off and I'm done. All right, so the first game.
Right.
San Francisco is limping into the championship game. I don't think they played a very good game at all. I think Debo is hurt. I don't think Debo's going to be up to speed. Christian McCaffrey, they're literally turning into him to a bionic man. They got a guy running a machine on his leg practically the whole time he's off the field just to get him back out on the field. So I think in that first game, I'm taking the Lions.
Woo.
I think the Lions are a team of destiny this year. And I think they are going to the Super Bowl.
I like it. Like A-Train said, people in Detroit, it'll be pure madness up there.
As they should.
So-
they deserve it, man. Like, they literally deserve this.
Hell, they'll have a parade and riot if they make it to the Super Bowl up there.
Oh, it's going down the minute after the NFC Championship game when the Hallis Trophy is given to Jared Goff or Dan Campbell or the Ford family. It's a wrap.
So now I'm torn
Oh, Lord.
because
Go. Oh, God. Let me go.
now I'm torn because
Oh, come on now.
Come
if
on,
you look
dude.
at the Ravens game against Houston,
Uh-huh.
they didn't have to do much to win that. You look
Okay.
at Lamar Jackson, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. But really, as far as stats go, there was nothing to really write home about for anybody on Baltimore. I want to take Kansas City, I really do, but I think that going into Buffalo, when Buffalo they were hurt. They were behind the 8 ball on defense to begin that game. And I think a lot of the reason why Kansas City looked as good as they did was because Buffalo's defense was so – they were playing a bunch of second stringers for a lot of the game. So I think it'll be a real reality check when they go to Baltimore because Baltimore will be on all cylinders.
Uh-huh.
Golly.
Oh, no, you go.
God. Oh God. I'm gonna have to go.
And I need a cigarette.
Come on, dude.
Oh God, I want to say it. I can't. I got to go Baltimore. Baltimore and the Lions are going to be in the Super Bowl.
Oh, great. Oh, great. We got it somewhere. Woo.
See, that was a lot longer than last week, so I
That the hell it
apologize.
was. Yeah.
I don't think that's possible.
Oh, man.
I think it's going to be Baltimore and Detroit.
Oh, are you serious? Baltimore and Detroit. You on that
Baltimore.
bandwagon too. Okay.
I am on the bandwagon. I
Woo.
think Detroit is the team of destiny. Not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl because I need a little more time for that. But since you guys rushed me into a decision tonight,
Rushed
I
you.
thought
Oh,
I had all week to make this decision, and you guys
Rush.
sprung it on me.
Rush. Said any Jordan Ta'ama rumors? None. Zero.
You guys hadn't heard anything on him? I meant to ask about him earlier in the show.
Zero. Haven't heard anything.
What roster is he on right now? What's his current status?
He would be on the DC Defenders if he was to return.
I thought that's what the protected roster was. He
And that's
wasn't.
what I'm hoping. I
Was he
haven't heard
on the?
anything.
Was he on their protected roster?
I didn't see it. He would have been on it.
Yeah, I don't.
I didn't see it.
The same thing would have been the case for Brandon Silvers, but Brandon Silvers is not on a protected roster.
Rumor was that Brandon Silvers and AJ McCarron, I think, was playing golf together today or yesterday somewhere.
Nice. Okay.
So that's a pretty interesting rumor. Both those boys are from Alabama, by the way.
Yes. With Brandon being in Troy, right?
Right.
Troy,
AJ probably beat him. I'm sure.
Of course he did. AJ played at Alabama, baby. That's what we do.
What? After you win championships, you go out and play golf, right?
So here's the deal. Are you gonna ever do your NIL thing, or are we pushing it off again?
I don't know if I have the backbone and the spirit for it right now. I'm so beat down about it.
Oh, you ready? You ready to go in, sir?
You're gonna have to do it eventually. And if you're gonna do it tonight, that gives me another couple minutes to change my mind if I want to change my mind yet.
I need a cigarette if I'm gonna do the NIL thing.
Well, then next week you are doing it for sure. No excuses.
Okay.
Because I was ready to jump on you too. That the old Iowa Hawkeyes got one of your boys back. So,
well, he was committed to Iowa all along last year, and Bama stole him right before signing day. So I really anticipated him to be one of the guys that was going to leave. He really did struggle this year at left tackle on speed rushes, but I do think he will end up being an All-American before he's done. He's the real deal. He wasn't quite ready to start at left tackle this year, but he held his own. I mean, Caden Proctor is a fantastic ball player.
Well, he'll be able to ease into left tackle at Iowa because we're thinking of playing next season without a quarterback, so he won't have to protect anybody.
Yeah.
We're gonna play Wildcat the whole season, probably end up coming out ahead.
I tell you what, then that is the offense for him.
Unless we get Rocco. Coach Beck said $10 million in this hand, Rocco in this hand. So
Eric won't come back on the show if that happens.
So we're gonna have to let our viewers know what Eric picked, if any of them give a damn.
They can go to the bottom line on Facebook and on Twitter.
With his current record, it looks like he can't pick his nose.
It won't even matter.
God, you don't know how bad I don't
change
know.
your pick, Ed.
I don't know if I want
to change it. You do know. I can tell. I wanted to say Kansas City a half an hour ago when you started this, but I didn't want to jump in front of you.
I wanted so bad to say Kansas City.
I know you did.
But I still say
I don't see a
that
Chiefs 49ers.
Kansas City's offense against Buffalo looked really good, but it was because of the quality of defense Buffalo put against them. So I got to
give Kansas City respect, man, with their defense. People don't respect their defense at all.
Kansas City doesn't accomplish what they'd have accomplished without being a quality team. So there's nothing bad coming from these lips. So where'd A-Train go?
A-Train just finally
I said, let me know when y'all were done. Because I'm like, you better go this whole
I was going to say, he just threw in the towel. He said, I can't handle no more.
Let's just say this. I've technically got until Eric makes his picks to solidify my picks. So
now come on now. We do these picks during the show.
Okay. All right. I'll stick with
your day.
I'm sticking with my picks. I'm going with the Lions and the Ravens. Even though I know I let Jersey down because Jersey's all about the color of the Super Bowl emblem.
Oh,
and
my
so
goodness.
he's convinced it's the 49ers and the Ravens just because it's purple and red. So,
I don't believe that for 1 minute.
Supposedly, it's the two best teams this year, but that can change. It don't take but one bad game.
I understand it. And last season that happened with the Chiefs and Eagles. They were the two best teams, and they both faced off in the Super Bowl. So it can happen. I just don't see it happening this go around. I don't see it. To the NFL,
that sounds like Dirty saying that. I told him we got to ban him from watching wrestling because he thinks everything's rigged, just like wrestling.
Well, so does John. John thinks the NFL's scripted too.
Yes, your fans do believe that.
Yeah, there's several fans that believe that the NFL is rigged. So anyway, there you have the picks heading into the.
Hey, and Eric put his picks out on the bottom line page anyway. So
yeah, Eric can put his picks out on the bottom line page if you even really care about who he picks. Otherwise, I feel bad for Eric though because I know that he was pretty spirited because he felt like Brock Purdy was getting a bad rap on Facebook for his performance yesterday. So or was that the day before? Anyway, he was feeling like Brock Purdy was getting a bad rap. So I'm sure he had 5 pages of stats that he was going to show between 12.3 and 14.5 yards. He was at an 80% clip. I was waiting for him to say all that stuff, but too bad, so sad he didn't get here in time. So, with that being said, I hope everybody has a great rest of the week.
Playoffs?
Yeah, playoffs. Yep.
Playoffs?
What are you talking about? Playoffs.
Playoffs.
Anyway, thanks. We'll be back again next Monday, 8 o'clock, same time, same bat channel. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Hey, we're trying to get some more UFL head coaches on the show, so stay tuned.
Yep, we're working on some head coaches, so stay tuned on that.
Ready for the battle, we preparing for the war. Give them just a taste, I swear they want more.